Yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. We need to talk about DOGE. We're going to talk about DOGE in the United States and why Canada needs a form of this, the Department of Government Efficiency, when we finally get an election, whenever that's going to be, whether it's Mark Carney, whether it's Pierre Poilievre, I don't care who's in office. We need some form of accountability. And this is true accountability when it comes to the money that's being doled out, as Justin Trudeau has now had documents surfacing that he's plugging $500 million into weird places. We're going to get into it. I got to watch how I say this. The reason we're tackling this, the reason we're talking about this, and I wanted to highlight this because while the mainstream media is losing their head over Elon's Musk bringing his child into the White House, into the Oval Office, the one thing they weren't focusing on is what was discussed about DOGE and how DOGE is essentially exposing all of these Democratic NGO practices that are funneling money, billions of taxpayer dollars out into places where they shouldn't be putting it, essentially into other countries, into organizations, into questionable groups, we'll say, all for the purposes of building up their own net worth. Now, currently, if you watch what's happening in the United States, Elon Musk is exposing how several individuals within the government who are on roughly $300,000 to $400,000 salaries have net worths in the multi-millions. So now they're investigating at, apparently now they've gone to the IRS. They're going to be auditing the IRS. That's going to be interesting. But the reason I'm talking about that is because one of the things he stated during his press conference in the Oval Office is that what's happening right now in America is that you have a functioning bureaucracy. It's not made for the people. That once you audit and once you start putting money in place, once you give power back to people, that's when you have democracy. You can't have democracy for the people when you're operating a bureaucracy. Canada, of course, is a bureaucracy right now. Let's get straight into this article from the Western Standard. Great guys over there. You guys should always go check your news sources over at the Western Standard. Corey Morgan's a great guy, good friend of the channel. Go check them out. Revealed, Justin Trudeau is now dumping $573 million into offshore gender-responsive economic development and climate initiatives. The climate change initiative, we all know, is false. We all know that it's just nothing more than for the Trudeau government, or any government for that matter that's within the Paris Accords, to essentially funnel money out to special interest groups. It's to give slush funds. We've seen that with SDTC. We've seen it with the Dalian contracts. We've seen it throughout the last 10 years. As this has been ramped up and told that if you pay more tax, the weather will change. But going into, what was it, gender responsive economic development and climate initiatives? Something tells me Justin's getting another payday. Does the government of Canada need a US-style DOGE financial audit? Franco Terrazzano, federal director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, would say yes. Terrazzano released a series of bombshell tweets revealing extreme waste in Ottawa. Okay, we're talking about NGOs or non-government organizations. Global Affairs Canada is doling out $223 million to the private sector in South America for climate change mitigation and gender-responsive, sustainable economic development, he wrote on X. Global Affairs Canada also doles out $350 million in corporate welfare to the private sector in Asia to develop low-carbon and climate-resilient initiatives and advance gender equality in the region. Why are we funding this in South America and Asia? Why are we paying for this? Maybe they should pay for it, right? Pay for your own stuff. Why? I'm curious what gender equality has to do with climate change. Feels to me like just another way to make it sound complex while doling out the money. Other wasteful spending in Ottawa includes Global Affairs Canada spending a significant sum on a adult toy show, we'll say in Germany, and funding discussions on seniors' intimate lives abroad, we'll say. Parks Canada spent 4 years and $10,000 trying to capture a single bullfrog and $800,000 to hunt 84 deer on a BC island, costing nearly $10,000 per deer due to the use of helicopters and extensive ammunition. Canada Post lost $1.2 billion over the last 2 years, and Via Rail has used $1.8 billion in taxpayer money over 5 years just to cover operating losses. So if these businesses aren't viable, again, you got to start looking at things as a corporation, as a business. This is why these audits are happening in America. Donald Trump is a businessman and he sees waste. Here's the Canadian Climate Fund for the private sector in the Americas. I know it's really small, but in small print. You've got it down here, maximum contribution, $223,500,000. Then below, Canadian Climate and Nature Fund for the private sector in Asia, $350 million. Like, why are we doling this out? Why is Justin Trudeau hiding our money around the world on bogus climate initiatives? Well, it's not him who's doing that. Again, I spoke about in great detail. Well, not great detail. I'll talk about it tonight on tonight's live stream. Join me in there. While we sat with Jordan Peterson this week, as he said that if you think Justin Trudeau is bad, just wait for Mark Carney. Justin Trudeau is a follower, whereas Mark Carney, he stated, is a leader. He knows what he's doing. A lot of politicians right now are clamoring for an end to the carbon tax. They're saying, oh, we'll change the consumer carbon tax, trying to compete and steal. I call it the Clone Wars because they're essentially taking from Pierre Poilievre's book and trying to dress it up so that uninformed voters come back to the Liberals. Carney's planning to hide the carbon tax from Canadians is an opinion article that's recently come out. Again, this was shared by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Liberal leadership candidate Mark Carney seems to think that giving you a discount code on a new furnace or some extra insulation is the best way to help you with affordability. Again, we go back to things like heat pumps, right? He will pay for the discounts by hitting businesses like fuel refineries and power plants with a hidden carbon tax. Of course, those businesses will just pass on the cost. We've already seen that with retail by saying, hey, your clothing's going up, your food is going up because of the cost for these vehicles to deliver on trucks to stores. There's a carbon tax on fuel. The consumer pays that carbon tax cost because they have operating costs and whatnot. Everybody knows how business works. Bottom line, you will still get hit with that hidden carbon tax when you buy gas or pay your bills, but it gets worse. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at least attempted to give you some of the carbon tax money back through rebates. That's questionable. The parliamentary budget officer consistently made it clear that rebates don't cover all of the costs, but at least you could spend the money on things you need the most. Under Carney's affordability plan, you don't get cash to pay down your credit card or buy groceries. You can only use the credits to buy things like e-bikes and heat pumps. The problem is, God, his face. This is just the face of doesn't he look like Gollum from Lord of the Rings? I think he looks, or maybe his wife does. I don't know. Either way. Let's get over to Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Because the expenditures get worse. This is where we're saying, like, do we need a carbon tax to cover all of these slush funds when if we just stop the wasteful spending, Canadians could afford their lives and the government could government like they always do? We just got 2,400 pages of government emails from Tom Clark's New York condo. Here's a taste. Quote, I don't think we can position this $8 million apartment on Billionaires Row. If you don't know Billionaires Row, excuse me. It's, I don't know the intersection, but it's along Central Park in New York City. The most expensive real estate, they say, in America and other parts of the world, which essentially they have dubbed Billionaires Row. So it says, I don't think we can position $8 million on an apartment for Billionaires Row as cost savings, so I'm hoping there's other rationales that can be included. Of course, the email, which has been redacted, shows down here, hi both, can we please get lines on the below? Multiple outlets are asking around about it, so I think we need to be prepared. So what they're saying is that before the media gets a hold of this, we gotta back up what we're doing. Here's another one. And this is a questionable one because I'd sure like to hear what the Conservatives have to say with this. While Parliament has been prorogued, while we're waiting for an election for the Liberals to decide who their installed leader is going to be, MPs are still getting paid on our dime. I think that's part of this waste. That's my personal opinion. But it says MPs are taking another pay raise of $7,900 to $15,800 on April 1st. Here are their annual salaries after the raise. Backbench MP makes $211,000 a year. A minister makes $311,500. Prime Minister, $422,000 a year. Can somebody please explain to me, especially with the Prime Minister? I don't care if it's Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, whoever. We pay for their house, we pay for their food, we pay for their travel costs. Why do they need to make $422,000 a year? Why are ministers making $300,000? Why are backbench MPs, like the very minimal amount of work to be done in the House of Commons, $211,000 a year? Must be nice. Down here, Franco concludes this will be their 6th pay raise since the beginning of 2020. They increase their own pay on the very same day they take more money from your higher carbon tax and alcohol taxes. I want everybody to keep this in mind as we go into another election. Now, again, I'm not trying to crap on the Conservatives. I'm not trying to push anybody away from anyone that they're looking to vote for. But what I keep trying to stress in my live streams, the reality that we're in, and I always put it in context of when you're working with your current cell phone providers, that when your contracts go up, when they want your business, they always come around saying, hey, we got this new deal. We can get you more data and less charges. And all you got to do is sign on the line for another couple of years and give us your business. They do that because once you're locked in, once you sign that piece of paper, they've got you for the next 2 years. So if you have a problem after a month, they tell you, too bad. They're hoping that by the end of that 2 years, you've forgotten what happened 1 month into your contract. It's the same thing with the government here. They're about to go to the polls in one of the most important federal elections in recent history. The Conservatives want your vote now more than ever. The questions that should be asked is, did you guys oppose this pay raise? Did you guys push back and say it's not necessary? We don't need it? This is the time to demand more from your politicians. When they come door knocking, when they canvass, when they text you to ask if you approve of what they're doing. Real feedback, it's not fear porn, it's real feedback, can tell them you either get with the program or you get lost. Terrazano also points out here, with an election right around the corner, is any party going to oppose this politician pay raise, or are they all going to pad their pockets with more taxpayer money and then go door knocking for your votes? Again, circling back to what I'm saying, we're at a crossroad here where potentially Canadians can have some form of representation in the driver's seat if they're willing to put their foot down and even tell those that they plan to vote for, I'm not going to give you my vote until you want to get serious about your job. We have to remember what Elon Musk had said. What we currently have functioning in Canada is a bureaucracy. It's a new form of mafia. It's the mob. If we want a democracy, we, the people, have to realize the power that we have going into this election. We have to exercise it. We have to push back when necessary in order to make sure that the results we get are ones we're going to be satisfied with, and that the people representing Canadians moving forward are truly there to make lives better for America, to bring it home, as Pierre says, and make life easier. That's essentially all I want. I don't know about you guys, but I don't care which party it is, so long as they represent the Canadians the way they say they're going to. Let me know your thoughts below. What are your opinions about Justin Trudeau doling out $500 million in offshore funding? Let me know your thoughts down below. When we talk about the pay raises, the current pay of politicians, let me know if you plan to bring this up to your MP when they come door knocking. Let me know your thoughts down below. Again, if it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that button, you click the bell for notification. Join me live tonight here on the channel for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming weekly show where I'm joined by my beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe, as we go back and forth through the community to hear what you have to say outside of making these videos, as well as discussing all of the events that happened this week in politics. We always look forward to chatting with you every Friday night, but we look most important to talking to you tonight and this Friday night on the live stream starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.